The subject for today is this. It's a challenge that I want to present to you. And here's the question. Who loses if blacks win? Who loses if blacks win? After a careful, intense, analytical probe into the devices that have been strategically put in place to secure the perpetuation of our condition as black people in this society, I've come to the conclusion that it is not, I repeat, it is not in anyone's interest for blacks to ever leave the sinkhole of poverty. It is not in anyone's interest for blacks to ever form a powerful, healthy business class. It's not in anyone's interest. And it certainly is not in the interest of those who are part of the immense social service industry, such as the endless stream of social workers out there. If blacks ever get themselves together as a corporate body, a lot of people will be out of work. Counselors, a growing number of experts will be out of a job. As painful as it is to admit, brothers and sisters, and it's painful to say what I'm about to say, it's not even in the interest of civil rights organizations.
Come on.
We have the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. For those who don't know the historicity of that organization, let me drop it on you right quick. It's not a black organization. It never was and never will be. It was founded by Jews, a man named Jacob Schiff, S-C-H-I-F-F, who also is the founder of the Anti-Defamation League, same person. It was founded by Jews, it's owned by Jews, and it's still run by Jews. But so that we will think it's an organization for us, they put black folk out front to operate it. It's black operated, but it's not black owned. Then we have the Urban League. And I could say similar things about that organization as well. And I don't want to bust anybody's bubble here today, because I know some people have taken out life memberships in these organizations, and I don't want to, rain on your glory, but I got to tell you the truth. These so-called civil rights organizations, the New Black Panther Party, National Action Network, that's the chairman or president of that is Alfred Sharpton. Y'all know him as Al Sharpton. See, I remember when he was Minister Alfred Sharpton at Washington Temple Church of God in Christ in Brooklyn, New York. We have, even right here locally, we have our own UAPO. We have the American Association for Affirmative Action, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, oh man, CORE, Congress on Racial Equality, NBUF, National Black United Front, and I could go on and on and on and on with all of these civil rights organizations whose administrators, hear what I'm saying now, whose administrators justified their financial stratagems and fundraisers to meet their operating costs and overhead, which they may or may not have. The end of a black underclass. Good Lord have mercy. The end of a black underclass would not be in the best interest of academics. Believe it or not. You see, y'all, it's the black underclass who provides the content for the theses, for the monographs. It's the black underclass that provides the contents for the doctoral dissertations. It's the black underclass that provides the content for articles in various journals and magazines and books and courses on sociological perspectives in urban America. It's the black underclass that feeds all that and gives them something to do. And we must be sure to understand that a strong black business class is certainly not in the interest of politicians, whether they are black or white. You see, here's how it goes. The black politician, follow what I'm saying. I hope this is what I'm saying making sense so far? The black politician especially is dismayed by the prospect of a strongly developed class of black entrepreneurs who can speak for and represent themselves. See, because if you have some black people who are powerful enough to speak for themselves and represent themselves adequately and efficiently, then there's nothing for the black politician to do. So it really would not be in the best interest even of black politicians for there to not be a black underclass. My God, what would happen? What would happen if blacks as a people would begin to overcome the obstacles that sociologically and politically and economically limit us? What would happen? What would happen? Just think for a minute, y'all. A world devoid of poor black people. Can y'all imagine that? A world devoid of poor, troubled blacks is not in the best interest of mainstream media. No, it's not. You see, it's the troubles and tragedies of black people. I hear it on the news all the time. Everything that goes, all this stuff that happens in North St. Louis. Homicides. Almost every day. Our troubles and our tragedies provide the most tantalizing morsels for the nightly news.
Yes, yes.
Our troubles and our tragedies provide the tantalizing morsels in this paper that y'all got out here called the world. This paper is a cheap looking little paper, but it makes big money off of nothing but black people's troubles and tragedies. Then you have sick entertainment shows on television where black folk don't have no better sense than to get on national television and air their dirty laundry with each other. Oh man, it would not be in the best interest of mainstream media for us to get it together. And most tragically, the loss of a black underclass is not in the interest of the increasing numbers of black entertainers whose music and routines and characterizations and talk shows are centered on the existence of black pathologies. There was a phrase that I think the Marine Corps still uses it. They had it when I was in the Corps, and that phrase is, the Marines are looking for a few good men. Being that today is Father's Day, I'd like to restate that phrase just a little differently and make it applicable to us as people and say, black children are looking for a few good black men. Yeah. Now follow this now, follow this. All it would take to begin the reversal of our community's decline are a few, not a whole lot, just a few good black men. That's all it would take. If we could get just a few good black men throughout the black communities of America.
All right.
That would begin the reversal of the decline of our communities. Men, black men, who first of all are determined to stand up to bootleg, illegitimate, unauthorized preachers. Brother talked about it this morning. That's why I said you're messing with my message, man. You know? I don't know how many of you heard Sharon on the radio this morning. Brother came up with a serious indictment. To begin the reversal of our predicament in our black communities, all it would take would be a few good black men to firstly stand up to the many bootleg, illegitimate, seriously illegitimate, unqualified, inexperienced, miseducated, unauthorized preachers in the black community. Now I know, don't get me wrong, I know that there are some preachers, in fact there are a few preachers, or many preachers, however you want to say it, who are qualified. Yes, they are, and they are really concerned about the spiritual welfare of our community. So I'm not talking about those few. I wanted to share this joke on the radio this morning when Sharon started talking about the overabundance of black churches within urban America. Not just here in St. Louis, it's everywhere. And for those who did not hear the brother, let me restate what he said. He said, between Lucas and Hunt and Kings Highway, is that what you said, right? Those between those streets on Martin Luther King Boulevard, he counted. Is what? On Martin Luther King, right? On Martin Luther King Boulevard here in St. Louis, for those who are listening around the world, between Lucas and Hunt and Kings Highway, which is approximately a 13 block distance, this young man counted 27 churches. Just on one street. And mind you, pretty much between those two cross streets, Lucas and Hunt and Kings Highway, most all of the black businesses are shut down. Only thing that you see pretty much in that area are chop suey, black churches and liquor stores. More black churches than anything, and yet our community is degraded to an embarrassing state. I'm reminded of this joke about a poor black farmer making his rounds in the field one hot summer day. God, was hot out there that day. And it seemed that the farmer, after spending so many years with his mule, plowing, you know, poor man, he didn't have a tractor, he had to use a mule to plow that hard, parched dirt under the heat of that hot summer sun. And one day, this man, in his disgust, because the soil was unyielding, he dropped the plow. He decided he had enough of this hard work to economically empower himself. So one day he dropped his plow and looked up in the sky at that hot sun and said, "Lord, this sun is too hot. And this ground is too hard. I do believe this Negro has been called to preach." You get it? Could it be our misfortune, brothers and sisters, that so many black men are still dropping the plow for economic development and empowerment and hearing the call to preach the gospel, rather than prepare themselves to make a difference in our community? Rather than to prepare themselves to make a difference as a father. Yes, yes. Rather than to prepare themselves to make a difference as an entrepreneur. Yes. Rather than to prepare themselves to make a difference as an economic leader in the community, it's easier to say, "I believe the Lord called me to preach." Because among black folk, all it takes is a call. That's all it takes. A call from you have no idea who. And if you listen to some of these brothers, you sit and say, "Lord, who called him to the ministry?" Our black children are looking for a few good black men who are determined to stand up to politicians. Sellout politicians. That's right. That's right. And civil rights demagogues. By the way, let me say this about the civil rights demagogues who have never been elected to such an office. Think about what I'm saying to you. Who elected them to be a civil rights leader? Who elected Jesse? Right. That's right. Who elected Alfred? All right. Not, you know who I'm, Al, let me say Al, y'all got it quicker, right? Who elected these brothers? Those who want to jump out front every time an event happens. Who elected them to the position of a civil rights leader? Nobody. Think about it. The position of a civil rights advocate. Those who, mostly I refer to them as photo opportunists, are self-appointed. They took it upon themselves to be a civil rights leader. I didn't ask them to be my leader. But they saw an opportunity out of a tragedy to make a name for themselves or to get into the limelight. And I have not heard yet one civil rights leader, so-called civil rights leader, come with a developed academic or economic plan for financial empowerment in the black community. They come on the scene when something's going wrong, make a statement, give you some feel-good juice, jump on the plane and they're out of here. And you call them our leaders. I'm not knocking them, I'm just telling you like it is. Our black children are looking for a few good men who are ready. What did I just say? Ready. Who are ready to galvanize blacks to begin operating in our own best interest. That's what our children are looking for, Daddy, since today is Father's Day. Our black children are looking for a few good black men who are ready to help return us to that time in our history when economics was at the top of the agenda. Black men who will take us back to that point in our history when it was imperative for everybody to learn the workings of the financial market. Yes. Think with me. Go back to the early 1900s, 1915, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1921. There was an organization, there was a society in Tulsa, Oklahoma, of black people. That was the most recognized financial power in the world. Black folk. It was called Black Wall Street, where New York has copied it and get their Wall Street from. They got that idea from black folk in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where oil company owners, white oil company owners, would come from Texas and from every other parts of the country to Tulsa, Oklahoma to borrow their money from black banks to keep their white oil companies going. That's because at that time in our history, economic empowerment was at the top of the agenda, and everybody in the black community had to learn something about financial activity and how money works. We've gotten away from that, y'all. You see, this was the legacy that our ancestors had. Now, I want to advise you today, please, be advised. I'm advising you, I'm warning you, I'm telling you, I'm imploring, I'm preaching to you, I'm screaming this at you. Be advised, black people, that we cannot continue down this path where our current self-appointed leaders take advantage of our apathy for their own agenda and purposes. We cannot continue down that path because most of them are for sale. I remember the day when Jesse had an afro out here and a dashiki standing to my black power. Jesse better not act like that now, because see, he'll lose his seat in the Council of Foreign Relations. He'll be expelled from the Trilateral Commission if he talks about black power now. They done bought him out. All that money, all the money this man has, why doesn't he have a black entity to employ hundreds of black people? And I ain't talking about no rainbow coalition either. I ain't talking about rainbow, I'm talking about black. You see, Africans, brothers and sisters, before we can get ourselves on the right track, follow me now, before we can get ourselves on the right track, we must challenge our self-appointed so-called black leaders. But I found out we're afraid to do that. We're afraid to challenge our so-called, we're afraid to challenge our preachers. Those of you who are watching me, been sitting up in your church for the last 15 years, and you have not learned anything in the last 10 of those 15 years that you didn't learn in the first 5 years. And you're afraid to challenge your preacher about it. Y'all don't mind me telling like it is, do you? See, that's why we're in the situation we're in. We are apathetic as a people. Well, the Lord said he'll take care of it. When did he say that? And who did he say that to? Because he sure didn't say that to me. What God did say to me in my spirit is, if you want a change to take place, you better get busy, brother. Sister, if you want a change to take place, you better get busy. Well, we take it to the Lord in prayer. You know how many years we've been taking, how many centuries we've been taking it to the Lord in prayer, and look at us. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that prayer is not powerful. Prayer is very important. But you need to pray and ask God for the wisdom on how to implement your plan. Don't ask God to do something for you. That's, Lord, give me a job. And you won't get up out your bed and go look for one. The ancestors need to come and take on physical form and whip your behind. They need to just appear in your room and wear your tail out. The African community needs to know that we need to understand which direction we should really be going in. I hope this is making sense to y'all. You see, we don't challenge our self-appointed so-called leaders because they're black. And somehow we think that because they're black, they would never do anything bad. Look at the person next to you and say, you better wake up. I think we were just in here talking the other night, right here. And I hope you don't mistake what I'm about to say. But I said to somebody, I think it was here somewhere, I was talking to somebody, I said, I would rather see a white person in office than a black person who's going to be a puppet and be used against his or her own people. Let me show you how deep this thing goes. In the Bible, in Proverbs the 14th chapter, the 34th verse, I want to give you what that verse says, but I want to give it to you from a more modern transliteration or the Message, and I told y'all what I encourage you to do is for comparative reading, for comparison reading, go to BibleGateway.com. All right? That is an online Bible website where you can pull the biblical text up in many different versions and even in different languages. And just read a verse out of different translations and different versions and see what it says. And here's what Proverbs 14:34 says in, I believe it's the Amplified version. Here's what it says. Uprightness and right standing with God, moral and spiritual rectitude in every area. How many areas? Every area of your life. Moral and spiritual rectitude in every area and relation of your life will elevate a nation of people. But sin, God avoidance, if I can use that phrase, God-avoidance is a reproach to any people. Now what is this saying here? If you look it up in a different version or translation, it will say truth, justice, righteousness will elevate a nation of people. Y'all know I bugged out when I saw truth, justice, righteousness, right? You know why I bugged out? Because that was called Ma'at among our ancestors of ancient Kemet. Truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, balance, reciprocity, right order of things. It says if you do Ma'at, as a people, you will rise, and nothing can hold you down. But if you get busy avoiding God, you as a people will be brought to shame. Now let me show you what meaning that has to me. I've seen too many of our brothers and sisters who talk about African liberation, black empowerment. All that sounds good, but they're into God avoidance. You cannot avoid God and have black empowerment. We got brothers and sisters who literally despise church. Follow me now. They literally despise anything that got to do with church. And I grant you, perhaps some of them have been disillusioned. Some of them might be what I call a practical atheist. So you'll understand, a practical atheist is a person who has been so disappointed by somebody at church that they don't have nothing else to do with church. They still believe in God, but somebody in the church disappointed them. Somebody in the church disillusioned them. So they have now become anti-church. And what's deep about it is the church ain't the problem. Maybe someone in the church is the problem, but the church ain't the problem. And I need to drop this on you while I'm at it. If you're looking for a church where there ain't no hypocrites in there and you join it, it will be one there after you join it. You need to understand it. And look at the person next to you and say, there is no perfect church. It's amazing, brothers and sisters, how we so readily find fault in others as an excuse. not to fulfill our obligations and responsibilities. Okay, I'm going to move on. See, what's really killing us is our moral decline. How many of y'all have ever heard of Booker T. Washington? Powerful brother, a genius. Booker T. had a strategy for black economic empowerment. His strategy was these words: beat them at their own game. That was his strategy. Today, Booker T. Washington might advise us to take our cues or our hints or our ideas from some people called the Japanese. If Booker was here today, he'd say, now what y'all need to do is look at the Japanese. That's what he'd say. He would say, now just look at what they did. Look at what they did. They were bombed.
Yes, yes.
2 of their major cities were wiped out in a day.
Yes,
Thousands of Japanese lost their lives at the horror of American bombs, atomic bombs being dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Booker T. Washington would say, black folk, understand, not one Japanese picked up a sign that said, we shall overcome. Booker T. would say, not one Japanese boycotted anything. Not one Japanese decided to have a sit-in or sit down or sit out, whatever. Booker T. would say, not one Japanese ran out into the streets with a gun saying, I'm going to kill the Americans, I'm going to kill the Americans. Not one. Take a lesson from them. Now follow me. They dropped some bombs on Tulsa. We haven't bounced back yet. They dropped 2 atomic bombs on the Japanese. And you know what's really deep about it? Even now, right now, as I speak to you, this country has so much of its land and so much of its industry so intertwined with Japanese investments. As I speak to you, that if the Japanese right now today were to withdraw their investments from this country would go belly up in 30 days. When has there ever been a sweeter revenge than success? Japanese said, we'll send our children over to the universities in America. We will learn their stratagems. We will deposit our money in their banks. We will make them think that we are becoming good Japanese Americans. And we will make them get to the point to where they trust us. But we will never forget who we are and what we must do. That's what the Japanese said. A few good black men and women, I can't leave you out, sisters. A few good black men and women could lead us as we press for the kinds of rights that all people deserve. Now, here's how this thing goes. Here's how this thing goes. I think you've heard me say before, I say again, I am a black nationalist. A lot of people have a problem saying a pastor and a black nationalist is one and the same. And that's because of what the media has done to your mind as far as the definition of the word nationalist. See, the media, the FBI, COINTELPRO has convinced you that a black nationalist is a criminal. That a black nationalist is a militant troublemaker. So that you're clear in your African mind on what a nationalist is what your mama was. It's what your grandmama was. Now watch yourself, Pastor. You talking about my mama. Follow what I'm saying. Your mama, my mama, taught me, get your house in order before you try to worry about somebody else's house. That's nationalism. That's what a nationalist is. A nationalist says, I'm going to put all my energy, all my focus, everything I'm about, I'm going to put it into getting my house in order. After my house is in order, and after everything is running just like I want it to run, then maybe I'll have some time to concern myself with looking over and helping somebody else. Brothers and sisters, we got so much work to do. It'll be a long time before we can worry about somebody else's house. Once our economic house is set right, I'm getting ready to make somebody angry now. I'm telling you now, I'm getting ready to make somebody angry. But you know what, y'all? I'm 52 years old now. I don't care no more. That ain't old. I'm just tired of worrying about whether people like what I say or not. I'm just telling like it is. Once we get our economic house right, here it comes, then we won't have to ask for reparations. Oh, I done offended somebody now. In Cobra, don't take what I'm saying wrong, but something just don't sit right in my gut when we as black people have to ask for reparations.
There you go.
Did y'all hear how that sounds?
Come on.
We have to ask for reparations. And the reason why we have to ask for reparations is because our economic house is not in order. You see, once our economic house is in order, we won't have to ask. We'll have the power to take our reparations. Japanese ain't got to ask the United States for nothing. Am I making sense, people? We should have the power, not just the right. We should have the power for every black parent to choose whatever school they want their child to go to. Not, see, we're so busy fighting for rights. When you have the right, that means somebody gave you that right. They can take it from you. When you have the power, it ain't about whether you give me the right or not. The power, not just the right, to be free from government regulation that restricts access to the marketplace because of the color of your skin, or because the two middle numbers of your social security number ends in a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. All right. That's right. Go on and think. Now go on. That is right. The middle numbers do end in an even number in my social security number. Go on and think about it. Yeah, black folk. Wake up. As soon as they put your social security number in, they done already marked you. I look at the welfare program of the government. It's designed designed, now follow what I'm getting ready to drop on you. It's designed to keep those of us who don't know how to use it enslaved. You see, they put these programs in place and then taught their people how to use these programs. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Here you have a white lady on welfare. Here you have a black lady on welfare. Let's compare the two. The white lady is taught, go open up a business, form a corporation, not in your name. The black lady is not taught to have her own business. Don't say it's your business, white lady. Say that you're an employee of ABC Corporation. Pay yourself $50 a week. White lady from ABC Corporation. Y'all following this thing? And stay on welfare, white lady. Get food stamps, free medical assistance, all of the privileges that the government has for folk on welfare. Get it all, white lady, because they passed a law that most black folk don't know. Come on now. That if your business has an employer identification number, they cannot cross-reference that with your personal social security number. So therefore, all of the money in your corporation ain't got nothing to legally do with you, white lady. Are y'all hearing this? So the white lady is using welfare. She don't have to pay for her food. In fact, they give her a voucher to pay for her rent. Man, she getting over like a fat rat. But black people, we're afraid to go into business for ourselves. I don't know if I can make it. So every dime you get from the government, they watch it. Boom, 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 boom. You dare not step out. Okay, all right. I'm trying to show you how to empower yourself, black man, black woman. Use their program while it's still there. Oh, I can say it because what I'm saying is legal. Look at the person next to you and say, the difference between us and them is we abide by the law. They use the law. They stop us from using our creative force to create corporations and jobs for ourselves. Because see, we're so used to being depraved of stuff that we want our name on everything. We want our name on everything. You got to name your car Williams Automobile. Got to name your church Thompson Temple. We want our name on everything. White man that used to be in the Rotary with me said, and he offended me when he said it, but it made me think. He said, Ray, you know what the problem with your people is? You want your name on everything. He said, my name is not on it. He's a lawyer. His name is Jerry Gilman. He said, my name is not on nothing. As long as I sign the checks, that's all I care about. Am I making sense, people? Told you we're trying to focus on economic empowerment here. We should have the power, not just the right, to be protected from random crime, not just behind the doors of our homes, but wherever we go. We should have the power to do that. Not just, see, we want the right to do it. You need, look at the person next to you and say, you need the power to protect yourself. Not just the right. You shouldn't have to ask somebody if you can protect yourself. Where you live at? Somebody getting ready to go upside your head and you worried about the right to protect yourself. You need the power. You need the power to protect yourself. You must see how they circumvent our power? Don't worry about it, because vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Let me tell you something. You get ready to hit me. You get ready to hit me. We not going to pray. I'm telling you right now, we are not going to pray. I ain't going to ask God to do nothing. You know, you got to remember that. I got the power. You remember that? You got to have the power. Don't. That's why we're in the condition we are in as a people. We are so apathetic. We are so complacent.
Yes.
Our black children are looking for a few good black men who will cease reacting to circumstances created by others and begin to create a new set of conditions for them and our future. And I personally today, whoever hears this message, wherever you are, I am calling upon a few good black men to foster an outlook that emphasizes objectivity and personal initiative. Let me close by helping you to understand that we need to realize the connection between spiritual and economic health. Now, did y'all hear what I just said? Now I'm going to tell y'all like it is. You may not want to believe what I'm saying, but when you are flat broke, I mean, you have absolutely no money, you can't pray. Can I get a witness? You ain't got but one prayer when you ain't got no money, and that's Lord have mercy. Lord, make a way somehow. When you are flat broke, it's hard to think about anything else. We need to understand the relationship between spiritual health and economic health. Most of your preachers that Brother Sharon was talking about today, they realize it. In fact, most of your preachers that have these financial exploitation devices in their churches, telling you how the Lord gonna bless you 100-fold. Y'all ever hear that? The Lord said, give, and he will give back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Y'all have heard that before, haven't you? I like to say to those preachers, if you believe it, then you give it. All right. That's what I like to say to them. The Lord told me to tell you to plant a seed offering. No, I'm acting, y'all. I'm not saying that, you know. I'm acting. We don't do that here at the village. Okay? We haven't done that since I've been here, and as long as I'm here, we're not going to do that. We don't do the financial exploitation thing here. We believe that you give to the best of your ability, and we ask God to help us use that to meet our needs, and that's it. Okay? We don't ask anybody to give $500 so they can get a house. God is not a lottery ticket. Did y'all hear what I'm saying? But yet, and if you go to many of our black churches, you'll see that the person who's up advocating this, they're the only ones blessed. Think about it. The black preacher who is up advocating financial exploitation, they are the ones who got the Lexus. They are the ones who got a 3-car garage. They are the ones who got a house out in Barrington Downs. Oh, let me leave it alone. Let me leave them alone. And they'll tell you, if you give, you will be blessed. And yet there are people in their churches that still can't come up with bus fare. Ministers who are genuinely committed to the spiritual growth and development of our people and believe in the transforming power of a vital personal relationship with the Almighty, they don't need to be threatened by what I'm saying. Because what I'm saying doesn't apply to them. But I'm talking about those brothers out there who are running these financial games on our people. The brother convicted so many of it this morning. They told Brother Sharon, you better get a bodyguard. I did what he said on the radio today. Trying to shut down churches. And made it so bad, he actually used the word the destruction. He didn't say they need to be closed, he said they need to be destroyed. I mean, you know, like when you hear stuff like that, first thing people think of is burn it down, you know, or go tear it down or something, you know. Oh man, brothers and sisters, we have a destined path forged by our ancestors, and we need to get back on course. Using the moral force derived from our African spirituality. Now follow what I'm about to say and hear what I'm saying very carefully, because many of our people are in different religious belief systems. All right? And even at that, whether it be expressed in Christianity, whether it be expressed in Islam, whether it be expressed in Hebrew Israelitism, our black men and our warrior women should take the lead in opposing anyone and anything that stands in the way of our spiritual and economic empowerment. Don't sit back idly and let stuff go on that you know is going to hurt us as a people. Moral and spiritual interests are interwoven in our spiritual, material, and economic health. Again, Proverbs 14:34, it says, uprightness and right standing with God will exalt and empower a people. But God avoidance will bring shame to a people. Our black children are looking for a few good black men who will strengthen our resolve to ground our families in traditional moral values. If this happens, it will better help us to compete on all fronts, including an economic front. Now that we've understood how we've drifted so far off course, we as a people need to ask the Creator, we need to ask our ancestors, and we need to search ourselves to find out what we need to do to get ourselves back on course so that we can have the power that lies hidden inside of us. Who loses if blacks win? It's really deep when the very people that you think are fighting for your deliverance are the ones who's benefiting from your oppression. Let's empower ourselves. Ashe.